Good morning everybody. I am Dinesh Kumar-R. I am a geography educator with respect to UPSC Civil Services examination, and I am teaching at various civil service academies in Trivandrum, especially the Kerala State Civil Services Academy, and presently I am also taking number of all India level classes with respect to UPSC Civil Service examination, various online classes. So if you want to go through my introduction, you can see I am Dinesh Kumar-R. Now if you see my qualification, I am BTech in mechanical engineer. I don't have any link with geography, but geography I have acquired the interest as I prepared geography for the UPSC Civil Service examination as geography as my optional. So yes, I can guarantee that if I teach geography, being a mechanical engineer, if I can teach geography, everybody listening over the lecture will be able to understand things. Okay, there is no worries. So let us move into the topic that we are assigned today. So I'm not discussing too much about the syllabus now. Let us directly move into certain topics which is relatively more relevant to the mains examination and we are supposed to cover. So the topic that I am going to cover today is the concept of time and seasons. Now if you ask me regarding this topic, is it very important with respect to mains? I will say relatively less important with respect to mains. This was majorly more important with respect to prelims examination, but there are certain areas within these topics which are often in news, and we have to know these particular things. So that is why I will definitely take some of the areas which are important with respect to mains perspective. I won't be dealing too much factual aspect here because they will be more important. They was more important for the prelims, but now I am going to deal with the topic as it is more important for the mains aspect. Right. Now, if I talk about the topic, you have seen the concept of seasons. If I talk about season, basically the season, climate change, various variabilities in the recent seasonal aspects, all these things are often in news. So definitely we must know the basics of season. That is the requirement. So definitely we have to understand that. So for example, if I want to talk about the seasons, in global level, we know that there are 4 basic seasons which is very much common. We often hear about it. They are summer, they are winter, they are spring, they are autumn. So these are the most common seasons we hear about it. But when I talk about India, we are not using those simple words. We are changing it. What are the various seasons we have in India? So according to our Indian Meteorological Department, we have 4 basic seasons in India, which include dry winter, dry summer, then advancing monsoon and retreating monsoon. These are the seasons we have. Why? Why this change in India with respect to the global perspective? In the global perspective, we have spring and autumn. With respect to India, we have retreating monsoon and advancing monsoon. What is the reason for that? So we just have to understand the basic conditions which affects the season of an area. So that's how we will understand from the basics how the latitudes, they affect the climate of the world. First and foremost, this is the most basic thing that affects, that is latitude. So we'll start the topic from there. Apart from that, one more thing, the next topic that we will be covering today is the concept of time. Now, when I say about time, generally when we move towards east of prime meridian, towards west of prime meridian, what happens to time? When we gain time, when we lose time. These are the basic concepts there, and these concepts are more important for prelims. Everybody knows that. But again, with respect to mains, if you have followed news in last 1, 2, 3 years, you might have heard that there were a number of newses with respect to the standard time zone, especially with respect to India. Because for last decades, I can say 10-20 decades, not 10-20 decades, sorry, last 1-2 decades, there has been continuous demands from certain northeastern states. They require different time zones, right? And recently there was an output regarding that. There were certain studies that went on, and there was certain government decision upon it, that what happens, are we going to shift into 2 different time zones? So there are certain things in the news in last 1-2 years. So definitely we have to understand this. What is time zone? Are we going to apply 2 different time zones in India? If we apply 2 different time zones in India, are they beneficial? So we have to understand all these things with respect to mains perspective. So I will be giving importance to the topic that is more with respect to the mains, which is more important. So let us directly start with the topic. As the topic, you can see here 2 topics I am again repeating. First is, you can see here, it is concept of time here. First one you can see, it is your concept of time. And the second portion you can see it is concept of season. So let us start with this one, that is the concept of season first. So I'm directly entering into the topic. So to understand the concept of season, first thing you must understand what is latitude. I'm not explaining it because everybody knows what is latitude. Latitude is an angular distance. You can see in this figure, it is an angular distance which is measured from the center of the equator. This angle is referred as latitude. So latitude is an angular distance which is measured from the center of the equator. So that is my latitude, you can see here. Now what is the importance of latitude? That is most important for us now. When I talk about importance of latitude, latitude helps us in understanding or finding out different heat zones. If you see this figure, can you see from the childhood days we have been listening that this is 0 degree which is equator. This is 23.5 degree north, that is Tropic of Cancer. This one is 66.5 degree north, which is Arctic Circle, and above that we have North Pole at 90 degree. So what is this 23.5? What is this 66.5? All these are relatively important things. So first thing, within the tropics, that is I can say this is my Tropic of Cancer and this is my Tropic of Capricorn. If you see within this area, the name you can read it, it is referred as torrid zone. Now what is torrid zone? Torrid zone means it is a heat surplus zone. What is heat surplus? Heat surplus means the area which receives more sunlight. Generally, the temperature of the area will be relatively higher. So tropics are the area which receives direct sunlight. We'll just basically understand why that happens. And beyond tropics, if I go further, somewhere in between 23.5 to 66.5, that area is referred as temperate zone, right? And temperate zone, I can say it is moderately heat region. Let us see that area. You can see it here, this 23.5 to 66.5. I'm talking about this region. This region is referred as temperate zones. Similarly, you have the same temperate zone in the southern hemisphere also. So this is the area which receives a moderate heat. So it is not very cold and not very hot. I can say it is having a moderate type of climatic situations. Now above 66.5, that is my polar region, I can say frigid zone, because the temperature in that area remains very cold and most of the time these areas are covered by glacier. So this is the importance of the latitude. Latitudes helps us in understanding different heat zones on the map of the world. Now how? What is the reason for that? To understand the reason for that, we have to understand the relative movement of the earth. What is this relative movement? We all know that our earth has two different types of movements. What are these two different types of movement? One is it keeps on rotating in its own axis. Second thing, it revolves around the sun. Now we are talking about the second one, that is the revolution of the earth around the sun, that helps us in understanding different temperatures. Apart from that, if you know about the tilt of the earth's axis, when it moves around the sun, it's not fixed or it's not straight. It is relatively tilted, I can say. It's not straight, it is tilted like that. I will show you with the explanation with this figure. Let us see this. Can you see this is the orbit of the orbit of the earth. That is, this is my sun and earth revolves around the sun in an elliptical orbit. And if you see the axis of the earth, what did I say? The axis is not straight. Straight means this one, it is tilted. What is the reason? So let us see here, what is that tilt? This figure clearly explains. If you see, this is the tilt. So if I draw two axes with respect to earth, this is my vertical axis and this is my horizontal axis. Now can you see this tilt? This is my north pole and this is my south pole. It is tilted to around, I can say 23.5 degrees. There is no requirement to learn it as it is, that is 23.4 and all. It is around 23.5. So that is the tilt. Now please remember, whenever I am talking about the tilt, this 23.5 is a tilt with respect to the vertical axis. This is my vertical axis. Let me please change the color. Yes. Now this is my vertical axis here. So with respect to the vertical axis, I can say the tilt is 23.5. But if I talk about the horizontal axis, which is referred as orbital plane, with respect to orbital plane, the tilt would be 66.5 degrees. Now please remember, this tilt is fixed. Can you see this figure now? This is the tilt. this is the tilt, and the tilt remains same always. If you want to see that effect, can you see I'm showing about this thing, this is the tilt. Now I'm saying that the tilt of this earth, when it reaches here, it also remains like this. It also remains like this. The tilt always remains fixed. That is, it does not move like this. The tilt of the earth does not move like this. The tilt remains like this. When it reaches here, it will also come like this. The tilt remains fixed at every place. Now that is the reason tilted orbit and the revolution combined will give result to different seasons. What is that? Let us see with the help of slides here. So can you see, these are my 12 months. I'm starting from June here, this figure. This is the tilt here. After 6 months, the earth reaches here and it keeps on revolving around the sun here. Now let us show you in more details what happens during the month of June. Can you see during June, again let me show it here. Can you see the earth is tilted in such a way that the northern hemisphere is tilted towards the sun. Can you see here, the earth is tilted in such a way that the northern hemisphere is facing the sun. So can I say this is perfectly correct? Yes, the northern hemisphere is tilted towards the sun. As a result, can you see the equator has moved away from the center? That is, the sunlight I am getting directly or the least amount of distance from the sun, I can say it is this point. Now what is this point? If this degree is 23.5, can I say this degree will also be 23.5? If I try to draw it here, okay, it is not visible in the screen, I guess. It is not visible in the screen. It's okay, it's okay, it's okay. So let me explain, you can just imagine things, let us say. So for example, no, it is also not visible. Okay, fine. So if I draw a line here, if I draw a line, now in this area, can I say this tilt will also be 23.5? Definitely yes. And we know that what is 23.5 degree line? 23.5 degree line is referred as Tropic of Cancer. I hope you remember, I have shown this 23.5 degree line is the Tropic of Cancer. So this 23.5 degree line which is here, that is Tropic of Cancer. So what happens during the month of June or July, when it is summer in the northern hemisphere, can you see the earth is from the northern hemisphere tilted towards the sun. So the sunlight is directly over the Tropic of Cancer. That is why my northern hemisphere receives more sunlight during this time. So can I say when northern hemisphere receives more sunlight, definitely it will be more hotter. And when it is more hot, can I say it is summer in the northern hemisphere? Right. Similarly, after 6 months, can you see the earth shifts its location to here, and because the tilt remains same, can you see very clearly now the southern portion of earth is facing the sun. So when southern sector or southern hemisphere of earth is facing the sun, let us see what happens. Can I say this is the figure? During winter season, can you see the southern hemisphere is towards the sun. So can I say instead of getting direct sunlight over the equator, I will be getting sunlight directly somewhere here, and that is 23.5 degrees south, this area. And what is 23.5 degrees south? We have clearly discussed that is a very important latitude known as Tropic of Capricorn. So what happens here? If I want to explain things with this figure, can I say extreme locations of the sun in the northern hemisphere is Tropic of Cancer, and extreme location of sun on the southern hemisphere of earth is Tropic of Capricorn. That means sun cannot go beyond Tropic of Cancer. This is my Tropic of Cancer here. Sun cannot go beyond Tropic of Cancer. Similarly, sun cannot go beyond Tropic of Capricorn. That is below here, I can say the sun will not give direct sunlight. So as a result, please understand, so this is the reason, why we have different types of seasons. So what is the reason? During the summer season, the earth, it tilts its northern side towards the sun. So as a result of that, we are getting more insolation in the northern hemisphere, so it is summer in the northern hemisphere. During the winter season, the southern side is moving or facing the sun. So southern side receives more insolation. So that is the summer for southern hemisphere. So indirectly can I say summer of northern hemisphere is winter of southern hemisphere. Similarly, summer of southern hemisphere is winter of northern hemisphere. So when I discuss about seasons, please understand this revolution and the location of latitudes because of the tilt of the earth, that is the most important thing which explains the seasons. That is the first thing which explains the season. Now apart from that, there are a number of other factors also which will explain the season. Now it's very clear, I hope, the basic reason for season, it is tilt and the revolution along a elliptical orbit. That is the first and foremost, the most basic reason which decides the seasons on the map of the world. Okay, let us continue further. Now these 4 dates, suppose you are getting a question writing a short note on seasons, these are relatively important data. What is solstice, what is equinox, again solstice and equinox. We have 2 types of solstices. One is summer solstice, second is winter solstice. What is summer solstice? Summer solstice, you can see here the date is shown as June 21st. That means, can I say the first figure we have seen here, on the month, during the month of June, the sun was directly above the Tropic of Cancer, and that is referred as summer of northern hemisphere. And whenever I have summer in the northern hemisphere, that is referred as summer solstice. So you can see very clearly summer solstice is June 21st. What is December solstice? December solstice is, I can say, when sun is directly above the Tropic of Capricorn. That is my December. That is my winter solstice, and the date happens, you can see here, it is somewhere around December 21st or 22nd. Now what is equinox? Equinox means equal day and night. Now how can we represent that? How can we represent that? For example, if I want to show things in the figure, just a representation. For example, this is my earth. For example, this is my earth, and on this earth, for example, this is my equator, this is my Tropic of Cancer, and this is my Tropic of Capricorn, that is 23.5 north and 23.5 south. Now when we have seen the relative movement of the earth and sun, we understood during the month of June, the sun was above the Tropic of Cancer, and especially the date we have mentioned, somewhere around June 21st. And we have also discussed during the month of December, the sun is above Tropic of Capricorn, and that is your December 21st or 22nd. Now this 6-month period, what is happening here? Will the sun jump from Tropic of Cancer to Tropic of Capricorn? Never. So it will be having a gradual shift. What is that gradual shift? Can I say after 3 months the sun will be above the equator? And after 3 months it will be again here, next after 3 months it is here, again next after 3 months here. So that is everywhere it is 3 months period, 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, 12 months, sun again come back here. So what is this month? 3 months after June, can I say it is September? 3 months after December, can I say it is March? So what is the situation? During the month of March and September, can I say the sun is directly above the Tropic of Cancer? Not Tropic of Cancer. Can I say it is directly above the equator? So whenever the sun is directly above the equator, that position is referred as equinox. If you can see this slide here, whenever sun is above the equator, that is equator. Now during the month of September that we have seen, if sun is above equator during September, it is referred as autumn equinox. The other name is fall equinox. Similarly, if sun comes above the equator during the month of March, it is referred as spring equinox or vernal equinox. So these are the respective seasons we get. Why we get these respective seasons? Because of the relative movements of earth and sun. That is, earth is revolving around the sun in an elliptical path with a tilted axis. Now that is the reason behind the season. So this is the primary reason which I can say, which explains the season or the concept of season. So this is the most basic concept. Now apart from that, there are number of other concepts which will affect the season. Can I say, first thing we have discussed is latitude that is affecting the season. Can I say altitude has also a altitude also has capability to alter the season? Yes or no? So we generally know that what happens with altitude. If we move higher and higher, can I say temperature goes on decreasing? At the peak of mountain, we know what is the temperature. It remains colder. The best example is if I consider India. If I consider India, for example, this is our India, this area is our Kerala here somewhere, and can I say somewhere this area we have our Coimbatore, and somewhere here we have Ooty. Now Ooty and Coimbatore, they are very near locations, but when I compare the temperature of Ooty, we know that Ooty is cold and we know that Coimbatore is hot. Why? See, when I consider the first situation here, latitudinally they are much nearer to each other, so that is not going to make much difference there, latitudinal difference. But altitude, Ooty, if I consider, it is somewhere around 2700 meters above sea level, maybe highest point of Ooty. So if that is the height, as the height increases, there is a tendency that temperature will come down. So yes, again remember, this is my next important factor, that is altitude, which decides the temperature of an area. Similarly, there are a number of other factors. What else can decide the season of an area? Can I say the type of wind blowing in an area can decide season? Can I say the amount of atmospheric interaction? What is atmospheric interaction? The area, the atmosphere, how much amount of dust particles, how much amount of cloud it has, how much amount of water vapor it has, that will decide the climate of an area, right? So there are a number of other factors, and most importantly, apart from this, can I say the topography or the physiography of an area will also decide the climate? Yes or no? Himalayan mountains, they are not too high with respect to latitude. They are not, I'm not talking about its height, it is the highest mountain, we know that, but I'm talking about the latitudinal distribution. They are not too much higher, they are not excessive, they are not located near the poles. They are somewhere in the subtropical regions, near about 30-degree latitude. But when I talk about temperature, especially in the trans-Himalayan belts, that is, you might have heard about Karakoram, Ladakh, Zaskars, these areas are having periglacial climatic situations. What is periglacial? It is permanently covered with glacier. That is the climatic conditions in that area. Why? Because they are more than 6,000 meters above the sea level. That is the average elevation of these parts of Himalayas. So please remember, altitude, or I can say indirectly, physiography also decides the climate of an area. Now, these are the general terms that we have to understand with respect to climate. The most basic thing which decides the climate of an area is the relative movement of the earth and sun, that is a revolution along a tilted axis. Apart from that, there are a number of other factors which can decide the climate of an area. For example, let me explain things with the practical perspective here rather than going into the factual informations, because for your mains examination what you require is practical informations. Now I have just mentioned, please check the slides here. Do you remember here we have mentioned 4 different types of seasons here. One is summer, you can see here. Second is autumn, you can see here. Third is winter, you can see here. And last is spring. These were the 4 seasons we have discussed with respect to global perspective. But when I talk about India, why do we come out of this perspective? The reason for that is India, first thing, is a tropical land. So let us see. So we can say it is a tropical land. If I want to show the Tropic of Cancer, can I say roughly Tropic of Cancer passes through? This area is not this much south, it is somewhere here, okay? So if you want to be more precise, it will be something like this, okay? Now, this is a Tropic of Cancer. Now, with respect to India, if I want to represent the location of sun, can I say during summer, that is month of June, the sun is directly above the Indian landmass? During December, the sun was somewhere above the Tropic of Cancer, sorry, above the equator. Let me just have a proper representation of that again, the previous figure. So I hope you remember this figure. Different positions of sun. June, this is the position of sun. September, December and March. Now where is India in this figure? Can I say India is somewhere here? Yes or no? So this is India. So this is India here. Now if this is the case, can you see here, during equinox, you can see sun is above the equator. During summer solstice, sun is above the Indian landmass. During winter solstice, can I say sun is in the southern hemisphere? It is much away from the Indian landmass. So what happens when sun is much away from the Indian landmass? We won't get very strong insolation. We won't get very strong sunlight. So that is why we generally experience winter during that time. So here during the month of June, the sun is directly above the Indian landmass. So we will receive excessive sunlight here. When we receive excessive sunlight, now let us compare two regions in India. One region, I am talking about this region. This is my one region. What is this region? This is known as the coastal part of the India. Next, let me consider this as the second region of the India. This entire region as the second region. So I have classified or broken India into two parts. One part I said it is the coastal part of India. Second part I said it is the interior land of India. Now you might have heard about something known as maritime effect. Maritime effect. What is maritime effect? The effect of the water body is nearby. What is the effect? Can I say this is my Arabian Sea and this is my Bay of Bengal? Now whenever I have a water body near the land, they play a very important moderating role. Right? The water, if present near the land, whenever the land gets heated up, the water plays a role in cooling the land. That is by way of heat transfer. For example, land becomes very hot. The property of land and water, if I compare, land heats up very fast and cools down very fast. While the water part, that is ocean, it takes time to heat up and takes time to cool down. It is not very fast with respect to water. In that case, when I am talking about summer, can I say my land will heat up very fast? The temperature of land will rise very fast because land heats up very fast. Now, when land heats up very fast, can I say the surrounding ocean is lesser with respect to temperature? So this is high temperature, this is low temperature, and we have studied in school or basics, we know the basics, that heat transfer takes place from high temperature to low temperature. So what will happen? The land will lose its heat to the water body. So in turn, land will cool down. Right? Similarly, if I talk about this region, the land heats up very fast when sun is above the Tropic of Cancer, but there is no water nearby where land can readily lose its heat. So the temperature here will increase tremendously. So can I say maritime effect or the surrounding water plays a very important role in deciding the season of an area, and that you can very well see with respect to India. If I want to explain what is we call with respect to Indian climate, the simple term is Indian climate is known as tropical monsoonal climate. So this is Indian climate. Indian climate is referred as tropical monsoonal climate. Why is this referred as tropical monsoonal climate? Because for understanding that, you must understand what is monsoon. Monsoon means, the basic meaning of monsoon means it is seasonal reversal of wind. Seasonal reversal of wind means, suppose a wind is blowing in certain direction, after some time the wind will come back from that direction. It is moving in opposite direction. That is referred as seasonal reversal. Now what is that seasonal reversal? We have just explained here in this case. Let me just remove these things. Okay, now During the summer season, that is June, when sun is above the Tropic of Cancer, my entire northern part of India becomes very hot. That is, this entire belt, it becomes very hot. When this entire belt becomes very hot, we know that whenever the temperature increases, the air will expand. The air above that land will expand. If the air above that land will expand, what will happen? The air expanded means it becomes lighter. It has a tendency to rise easily. You might have heard about the examples of hot air balloon. Why does the hot air balloon rise? The reason for that, the hot air being lighter, or I can say hot air expands, so it becomes lighter than the surrounding, so it can easily rise up in the atmosphere. Similarly, in this case, my northern India becomes very hot, so the air above that becomes lighter and the air starts rising upward. When the air starts rising upward, I'm taking the situation here. For example, you can consider this. This is my Indian land. Here, the land has become very hot. As it has become very hot, the air above will start rising. So can I say above that there is a vacuum-like situation here? Because the air which was present here has moved up. So I'm getting a vacuum-like situation here. So this vacuum-like situation, I can say, is resulting into low pressure situations here. So whenever temperature increase in an area, we can link it with low pressure system. Why? Because my land was heating very fast. Can I say my surrounding water will not heat that much faster? So surrounding water compared to my land will be relatively cooler. So when the surrounding water is relatively cooler, can I say water will be maintaining high pressure compared to my low pressure? See, whenever I talk about the word high pressure and low pressure, they are always comparative. I'm not talking about any absolute figure. I'm comparing this with this. This is hotter than this one, so it has having low pressure. This is cooler than this one, so it is having high pressure compared to this. And whenever we have pressure difference, we have the wind. The wind starts because of the pressure difference. So here wind will start from high pressure to low pressure. So this is my one wind. So can you see here, the wind is entering Indian landmass from the surrounding ocean. Such size type of situation develops in something known as the southwest monsoonal season. So that is why we get rainfall. Why? Because the moisture from the surrounding ocean is entering into the landmass. Now, just after 6 months, if you have seen the situation, the sun is in the Tropic of Capricorn, you can see here. When sun is in the Tropic of Capricorn, can I say my India receives very less amount of insolation? And when India receives very less amount of information, let me explain these things in a practical example, okay? See, during the month of April, if you are going out in the sun, can you stand there for 1 hour? Right? The sun is directly above your head. You can feel that heat. You cannot face it because the sun is directly above. You are getting heated and you will collapse there. But if I am talking about December, the sun will never come your head. You will just see that sun will be moving like that somewhere in the southern part. Sun will never come your head, above your head. That means generally we school that you are getting a 0-0 shadow. Shadow because sun is above our head. Now, is this true 365 days? Right? Definitely no. Because of the apparent movement of the sun, is sun nammade meli varuna Keralathine kurichu parayuvanengil sun idinte meli varunathu during the month of April മാത്രമായിരിക്കും. December sun ഇവിടെ കടക്കുക. ഇവിടുന്ന് മേളിൽ നിന്ന് inclined rays വരുമ്പോൾ definitely your shadow will be towards northern side. അതുകൊണ്ടാണ് നമുക്ക് സൈഡിൽ നിന്ന് സൺലൈറ്റ് വരുന്നോണ്ടാണ് നമുക്ക് ആ സമയത്ത് അത്രയും കൂടുതൽ ചൂട് ഫീൽ ചെയ്യാത്തത്. Right. So what I mean to say is, it is December, my India receives less amount of insolation. When India receives less amount of insolation, can I say Indian landmass is cold now? And when the landmass is cold, what is the kind of pressure that will be developed here? It will be high pressure. It will be high pressure because land is cold, air gets compressed, air becomes heavy, it will try to fall down. When the air falls down, that becomes high pressure. But നിങ്ങൾക്ക് ഓർമ്മ കാണും, ഞാൻ കുറച്ച് മുന്നേ പറഞ്ഞേ ഉള്ളൂ, ലാൻഡ് പെട്ടെന്ന് ചൂടാവും, പെട്ടെന്ന് തണുക്കും. ഈ വാട്ടർ അത്രയും പെട്ടെന്ന് തണുക്കില്ല. This water will take time to cool down. So compared to my land, the water will be warmer now. So if my water is warmer, can I say this water will be relatively at low pressure compared to this land? Can I say the pressure situation has reversed? This is high pressure, this is low pressure. So can I say after 4 or 5 months, that is September December, can I say the wind moves from Indian land to ocean? That is, if you can see this green line, wind ocean is land, that was my southwest monsoon. After 3-4 months, I can say 4-5 months, the wind has reversed this direction. That is, that is known as seasonal reversal of wind. That's the monsoon. Right? And in this case, this is referred as northeast monsoonal wind. Northeast direction. It is referred as northeast monsoonal wind. Now, the purpose of taking this much topic is just to show you that if you get a water body nearby and if it is in a tropical area, how the climate affects India. So did you clearly understand that when I talked about the global perspective, I have seen summer, winter, spring and autumn. When I talked about Indian perspective, I got southwest monsoonal wind and northwest monsoonal winds. Additionally, I don't experience autumn and spring here. So that was the perfect difference with respect to different regions. So can I say, universally I can say latitude decides, or I can say revolution and tilt decides the climate of an area. But can I say there are a number of other factors which will influence, like the presence of water nearby, the altitude of an area, the wind of an area, the surrounding ocean currents of an area. So there are a number of other factors which makes the climatic situations more and more dynamic. So this is the basic concept of seasons. What is the I'm just concluding the topic. What is the universal concept to understand the season? It is your it is your latitude and the position of sun because of revolution along a tilted orbit. That is the first point. Now what did I add from that? I said that is not the only thing which decides the season. There can be number of other seasons, there can be number of other factors which can be deciding the season of an area, and this was the example that I have given how monsoonal situations keeps on changing the climatic situation because of the surrounding water present in a tropical land. So this is the concept of seasons. I hope things are clear. Okay, so we were discussing the concept of seasons. So to conclude the topic, I will just give you some additional points, because what I said in the first part, that seasons of an area is basically decided by the elliptical orbit and the tilt. Apart from that, I have shown you the example of India, that how the other factors are also influencing the climate of an area. So let me just give you certain points which affects or controls the temperature of an area. And let us understand very well, any conditions which is going to affect the temperature of an area directly or indirectly will be affecting the season of an area. So if that is clear, let us see some of the conditions, so that whenever you need to write an answer, you require certain points. So what are the points? Let us see which are responsible for affecting or controlling temperature of an area. Indirectly, I can say controlling the season of an area. So let us see that with certain slides. So these are the things we have initially discussed. So can you see these factors? Factors controlling or affecting the distribution of temperature. We have already discussed latitude. Then we have already discussed altitude. If you remember, I have compared Ooty with Coimbatore, the same example. Changes in the atmospheric system. What does that mean? Changes in the atmospheric system means how much water vapor do you have in the atmosphere? How much dust particles do you have in the atmosphere? How much cloud formations do you have in the atmosphere? All these things can also decide the temperature of an area. So thus they can also decide the seasons of an area. Then prevailing winds. When I talk about prevailing winds, you might have heard about there are certain permanent winds on the map of the world. Trade wind, westerlies, polar easterlies. So all these winds also regulate the seasons or climate of an area. you might have heard about something known as ocean currents. If you have studied ocean currents, you might have heard that there are different types of ocean currents like cold currents and warm currents. Whichever area, I will just show you with some figure this particular explanation. Let us try to explain things little bit easily. So for example, this is a continent. For example, this is a continent and this is another continent. Okay, you might have studied in the ocean, and what is this in between? This area is ocean in between. This area is ocean in between. Let me just enlarge the ocean slide bit. Okay. Okay. So we can say this is ocean in between. This is my equator. See, I have not specifically mentioned any continent. It is just any continent, two continents, 1 and 2. In between I have ocean. Now when you study ocean currents, you might have studied that ocean currents of northern hemisphere, they move like this. That is, they always move in clockwise direction. The ocean currents of northern hemisphere, they always move in clockwise direction. There are exceptions. Exception is the Indian Ocean. Otherwise, they move in clockwise direction in the northern hemisphere. Ocean current means it is a type of water movement, permanent movement. It keeps on moving in clockwise direction in the northern hemisphere. While in southern hemisphere, they keep on moving in anti-clockwise direction like this. So this is generally what happens with respect to ocean currents. Why this happens, we'll study in the class of ocean currents. But now, northern hemisphere clockwise, southern hemisphere it's anti-clockwise. Now, if it is so, can I say this is my continent, and can you see here this water? Can I say this water is coming from the equator? Can you see clearly the water that is present at the, can I say again, this is the eastern side of continent? This is the eastern side of the continent. Yes or no? This is my entire continent. This is east and this is west. This is my continent. Can I say this is western side of continent and this is eastern side of continent? And can you relate things like if I talk about ocean, this is my western side of ocean and this is my eastern side of ocean. If you understood this, please check. Western side of ocean is eastern side of continent, while eastern side of ocean is western side of continent. Now, what I said, the water in the western side of ocean, that is the water near the eastern side of continent, can you see very clearly that they are coming from the equator? Here also they are coming from the equator. And when the water is coming from the equator, can I say the water will be warmer? Can I say this water coming from the equator, it will be warmer? Right. Similarly, in this case, can you see at this area the water is coming from the pole? Can you see this water is coming from the pole? Can you see here also this water is coming from the pole? That means, can I say on the eastern side of the ocean, or I can say the western side of the continent, the water is coming from the pole area, hence it will be colder water. Hence, it will be colder water. Now, if my land is surrounded by warm water, can I say this warmer water will increase slightly the temperature of the land? Similarly, can I say this colder water will try to cool this continent here? So what is happening? The movement of the ocean water, they are also affecting the temperature, I can say climatic conditions of the land. So this is the condition I have mentioned, what happens with respect to ocean currents. So let us see further. Extraterrestrial factors. What are extraterrestrials? Means the outside factors. Sometimes there are occasional outbursts of energy. You might have heard about something known as sunspot, solar flares. So there are a number of things. From the sun, occasionally there are outbursts of energy, and if energy increases that is coming from the sun, it can result into increasing Earth's temperature because of more insolation. Next is distance from the sea. Can I say I have already discussed this point, distance from the sea? We have compared Delhi, why it is very hot? Because it is far away from the sea, there is no moderating effect there. Next is configuration of land and sea. This also plays a very important role. What is configuration of land and sea? Let me just show you that also with a simple example. We have seen the map of India wherein we have represented what is Bay of Bengal and Arabian Sea. Let us just again show that particular thing to you. This is my Indian landmass, the southern peninsula. This side I have my Arabian Sea, and this side I have my Arabian Sea, and this side I have my Bay of Bengal. Now when I compare the two water bodies, this is my Arabian Sea versus Bay of Bengal, you will actually see the Bay of Bengal is slightly smaller than the Arabian Sea. The Bay of Bengal is more enclosed by land. You have land here, but here it is relatively more open, Arabian Sea. So when it is more enclosed, it is more surrounded by land. Do you remember I mentioned whenever my land is hotter, land will release its heat towards the water. So can I say because it has more land surrounding it, the water of Bay of Bengal will be warmer than the water of Arabian Sea? Yes, definitely Bay of Bengal is warmer than the Arabian Sea, and that is one of the reason why Bay of Bengal experiences more number of cyclones, that is tropical cyclones, than the Arabian Sea. So it is also, that is configuration of sea. What is configuration? How bigger is a water body, how smaller is a water body. If they are in a same latitude, the smaller one will be warmer, the bigger one will be colder. Similarly on these sides, if I talk about Red Sea, Persian Gulfs, they are even smaller than Arabian Sea. So their temperature will be much more higher than this water body also. So please understand, that was the point I have explained, that is configuration of land and sea. Right? Next point, anthropogenic factors. I hope no need to explain this particular thing. Anthropogenic factors means the factors associated with the human beings, mankind, right? So in the present day climate change, I can say anthropogenic factors play most important role. May it be deforestations, may it be emissions of various greenhouse gases, anything. So we are basically we are contributing too much basically in increasing the temperature of the globe. So that is anthropogenic effects. Similarly, nature of topography, we have just mentioned mountain peaks are generally colder, right? Lower areas are generally warmer. So the same thing, impact of elliptical orbit we have already discussed, equinox, solstices, we have discussed all these things. One more point I will explain, we will conclude the topic, that is aspect of slope. What is aspect of slope? Let me just simply explain with a small figure here. So aspect of slope means, for example, this is a mountain. For example, this is a mountain, this is the northern side of the mountain and this is the southern side of the mountain. For example, the maximum reach of sun, suppose it is up to this area only. Suppose it is up to this area only. So if sun is here, can I say I will get very strong or direct sunlight in these areas? This slope I will be getting good amount of sunlight, but this slope I won't be getting direct sunlight. As a result of that, can I say here it will be relatively colder, here it will be relatively warmer, and can I say we experience this same situation with respect to India? That is with respect to Himalayas. If you know the location of India again, so I'm not, yes, let us just complete this faster. For example, this is our India. Now, if I talk about Himalayas, can I say this is my Himalayan belt? So this is my Himalayan belt. And we have seen our Tropic of Cancer. Do you remember? This is Tropic of Cancer. So the maximum reach of sun is up to Tropic of Cancer. So can I say the northern slope of Himalayas will never get direct sunlight? Because northern slope is like this. Sun is towards the south of Himalayas. That is, this is south, sun is here, northern slope is devoid of sunlight. That is the reason why the Himalayas, when I talk about, northern side is basically majorly covered with glaciers, while southern side it is a relatively forested part. So these are the conditions. So this is the concept of seasons we have discussed. So ideally we understood there are certain basic rules. What are basic rules? Tilt and revolution. Apart from that, there are number of other dynamic factors which influences the climate of an area. I hope the things are very much clear. So this is the concept of climate of an area or concept of seasons. So let us move into a new area now. As we have seen initially, we will be understanding the concept of time. So let us move directly with the concept of time here. Now when I talk about concept of time, when I will be dealing with latitudes now. When we were discussing the concept of seasons, the most important thing that affects the season was its latitudinal positions. But if I talk about the concept of time, time is decided by longitudes. Now this topic, what is important with respect to our mains examination? In the mains, nobody is going to ask you, you are moving into this direction from the prime meridian, you are moving into this direction from the Greenwich Mean Line, what is going to happen, are you gaining time, are you losing time? So nobody is going to ask you those things here, right? So what is important with respect to examination? As I said, there are certain things which is regularly in news, we have to cover this. So we will directly move into this. Just a basic thing I will just explain, what is the concept of time, then I will simply move into the practical aspects of this. So let us see the slides here. So yes, let us see the slides here. Okay, now on this slide, see, these are various lines. Can you see this one is my prime meridian, this one is my prime meridian. Now what is prime meridian? Prime meridian is a reference line. When we considered latitude, we have considered equator as a reference line. Now when I consider longitude, we consider prime meridian as a reference line. Now if I move towards this side of prime meridian, I am moving into the eastern side. That is, I am moving towards this side, that means I am moving towards the eastern side. If I am moving towards this side, I am moving into the western side. Clear? That is why we generally say India is towards the east of prime meridian. Japan, land of rising sun, is towards the east of prime meridian. So please remember, this much area, I can say this up to this much area, these are entirely, I can say, the eastern side of prime meridian. And this entire area is western side. So how does this help? If I fall on the eastern side of prime meridian, my time will be ahead of the prime meridian. My time will be ahead of the prime meridian. I hope you know the very basic reason what affects the time of an area. If I want to explain that thing, I hope the basic rule you understand it. What is the basic rule? Let me just show you with a figure. This is my earth. My earth has different longitudes. This is my western side, this is my eastern side, and the earth is spinning from west to east like this. The earth is continuously spinning from west to east like this. That means, suppose I am a person standing here. I am a person standing here. I am continuously rotating in my own axis. So I will move like this and I will reach back here after 24 hours. Yes or no? So we know that in 24 hours I am completing one circle, complete movement. So that means I can say in 24 hours time I am moving 360 degrees, right? Similarly, what is the time that I will be covering in 1 hour? What will be the time that I am covering in 1 hour? It is roughly, I hope you all know, it is roughly around 15 degrees. So if you know this concept, that clearly indicates if this is my prime meridian, that is reference 0 degree latitude, this line, if it is 15 degree east, if it is 15 degree east, and suppose this is 15 degree west. Now we know that I have just mentioned eastern side is ahead of the prime meridian, and when I say it is 15 degree east, 15 degree means 1 hour. So if I say it is 12 midnight here, it will be 1 AM here, because it is 1 hour ahead of the prime meridian, and it will be 11 PM on the previous day here. So please remember, from the prime meridian, if I go towards the eastern side, I am ahead of the time. I am ahead of the prime meridian. If I am here, I am behind the prime meridian time. That is the basic concept here. I hope this much idea is very simple. You have all cleared the prelims, so you know this concept. I am not going too much into details regarding this concept. What I am going to tell is what is there in news. So let us consider, especially with respect to India. This is the map of India, you can see, and if you see the latitudinal extents of India in this particular map, can you very clearly see on this map the eastern side of India, the longitude is roughly around 97 degree east, while on the western side it is around 68 degree east, roughly. It's not a perfect figure, roughly. Now when I say so, can I say between west and east of India there is roughly 29 degrees, or I can round it to around 30 degrees? Right. So with respect to longitude, I have around 30 degree gap between westernmost side and easternmost side. And you can see why both the areas are, all the areas are mentioned here as east, because we are towards the eastern side of prime meridian. Do you remember? This is my prime meridian, this is India, so we are on the eastern side. So this is 0 degree, 15 degree east, 30 degree east, 45 degree east, right, 60 degree east. That is how we go towards east. And when we reach the western side of India, this side, it becomes 68 degree east. Finally, as we cover the Indian landmass, we cover another 30 degree, this is 97 degree east. So roughly I can say there is a gap of 29 to 30 degrees. Now I hope you understand very well what is the time difference between these 30 degrees. We have just discussed when we had a gap of 15 degrees towards east, they will be 1 hour ahead. If I am having 30 degree difference, can I say it is 2 hour ahead? That is, with respect to India, I am considering this is my western side of India, that is 68 degree, and this is my 97 degree easternmost. Can I say easternmost point of India, that is part of Arunachal Pradesh, will be 2 hours ahead of the westernmost side of Gujarat, that is at 68 degrees. So can I say westernmost point and easternmost point of India has a gap of 2 hours, has a difference of 2 hours here, right? Now in a country, in any of the countries, for example, if you have different times, can I say things can become relatively different? You are suppose traveling from one state to another state. What should you do? You have to adjust your clock immediately, right? Because for example, suppose we are Kerala, so we are here. From here, suppose we are going to Gujarat. So can I say I have to delay my watch because Gujarat is behind? From here, suppose we are traveling to Kolkata. Can I say we have to advance our clock? So this becomes very much difficult. We cannot travel easily without adjusting the times. So to avoid that situations, what the governments of every country do, they generally select certain lines which they refer as standard time. So entire India will follow the time of that place. So with respect to India, it is 82.5 degree east from the prime meridian. We consider this as a standard meridian of India. This line passes through Mirzapur, which is in UP near Allahabad. So we consider this line as the standard meridian of India. Now, on this side I can say they are 1 hour behind, and on this side it is 1 hour ahead. If I want to give you the classic example, if I talk about the easternmost state Arunachal Pradesh, the sun rises maybe in the summer, I'm talking about summer season, the sun rises at around 3:45 or 4 a.m. in the morning. While on the westernmost state you can see, that is Gujarat, the sun rises only after 6 a.m. So what is the difference? You can see directly 2 hours difference in the sunrise, right? So but if I consider the time as average, eastern side will be losing 1 hour, they will also be adjusting 1 hour. So 1 hour can be compensated. That's why the government has decided the central line, that is 82.5 as a standard meridian. Entire India will follow the time of this 82.5 degrees. But now they are again recently in news. What is the news that is there? To understand that news, let me first introduce a small topic that is referred as Chai Bagan time zone. What is it? The meaning of chai, it is tea, that is namada chaya. What is bagan? Bagan is garden. Tea garden means, can I say they are referring to Assam? So tea garden time zone, what is it? So in India, during the British rule, they were using Chai Bagan time zone in the northeastern part of Arunachal and Assam area. Why? The main purpose of Britishers were exploitation, exploitation and exploitation. As a result of that, they clearly will ensure that the labor working in the Chai Bagan or the tea garden should work for the maximum time. So what is Chai Bagan time zone? They know that the people living in this northeastern part, they may be getting up at 4 a.m. But if they go at 10 a.m. to the office, they are losing most of their day. Half of the daytime they are losing. So to avoid that thing, what they did is they have advanced the time of northeastern area by 1 hour. They have advanced the time by 1 hour. And that is referred as Chai Bagan time zone. So what is Chai Bagan time zone? It was the time utilized in the northeastern part, implemented by the Britishers for the tea garden workers, so that they can go early to work, they can exploit more. Definitely that is not only exploitation, it is actually more logical. Because see, you can think about somebody who is getting at 4 a.m. and going to office at 10 a.m. Can I say half of the day is lost? In Gujarat, they are getting up at 6-7 a.m. then they are going at office at 10 a.m. That is fine. 3 hours they require in the morning, right? But what will these people do for the 6 hours in the morning? Most of the efficient time of the day is lost. Now, to avoid that, recently, actually it is not a recent event, they are continuously asking for long time, but now they are regularly in news. In northeastern state and Andaman Nicobar, they are demanding for a separate time zone in their area, which can be, I can say, 1 hour ahead of the normal Indian standard time zone, so that they can avoid the loss or the daytime loss. So what is that? Let us discuss these things one by one. 2 time zones in India, is it going to be a reality? So let us consider things. So what is it happening in news? Northeastern states and Andaman Nicobar, these are the states you know, they are demanding for different time zones. Now, why is it in news? Recently, a proposal for 2 time zone has come from India's national timekeeper. What is national timekeeper? Who maintains the time in India? It is Council of Scientific and Industrial Research, that is CSIR. Under CSIR, you have a body, that is National Physical Laboratory. So this body keeps the national time in India. That is why it is referred as the India's national timekeeper. So this body itself has recommended 2 different time zones in India. Now what is the reason for they are referring to 2 different time zones? So if I want to explain the reasons for these 2 different time zones, first and foremost the reason is the people should work with their natural situations. That is, they have sunrise easily, so they can go to the office early, they can work and come back home early when it is daylight. Now in case of northeastern area, suppose the people, they are going to their offices at 10 a.m. Can I say they will be working in the office till 5 p.m. and 6 p.m. 5 p.m. or 6 p.m. It's too late in the office. Now the area which experiences sunrise at 4 a.m. can I say they will experience sunset also earlier, maybe 5 p.m. So can I say during the last 1-2 hours of their office, they have to use their lights, all these particular things, power wastage, electricity wastage. So all these things they have considered. How the human efficiency is getting lost in this northeastern part of India, because they are going to work late because of their natural time is different. Second thing, their power wastage is happening. So when they consider all these particular things, they come to a conclusion that it is possible that in India we can introduce 2 different time zones. So that is why recently they have recommended, and we will see what is the benefit of that, what are the drawbacks associated with that, and what is the stand of the present day government regarding this particular topic. Now, I was talking about its benefit and losses. There are a number of benefits of having 2 different time zones, and there are also number of problems which can be associated. And definitely you can imagine, I have just mentioned that this is a problem which is going on from long back, until the government has not approved it. Last 20, 30, 40 years, the government has not approved it. Why? Because the government is highlighting different problems associated with this having different time zones. What can be the problem? Can I say in a country when we have two different time zones, basically when we think about it, it is relatively discomfortable for us. Apart from that, if I talk about the government offices, they have a regular time of working, maybe 10 to 6. It is generally everywhere in the country, it is like that. The central government offices, they are working from 10 to 6. Now, this time period 10 to 6, if it is different in the northeastern part, the best example I can take is, can I say with respect to banking work, banking hours. If it is different at different part of the world, can I say it can affect transactions, right? If I say I have two different time zones, 10 to 6 is different for the northeastern states and 10 to 6 is different for the rest of the country. So can I say their banking hours will not match with each other? So transactions can be hampered. And can I say the Indian railways, other transportation systems, they are relatively, I can say, not that much modern. They are still following number of primitive methods. With keeping the same time zone, still we have train accidents at different places because of these issues of managing time. Now can I say if I have different time zones, people can get confused and that can increase the amount of railway or train accidents in India. So see, I can very simply agree that these are the excuses, right? There can be easily solutions for this, but yes, these are the problems that the government is always putting forward, right? So we have to understand that these are the problems which are considered, or because of these problems we are not shifting into two different time zones. Now this is what we generally claim, but please remember there are a number of other strategical issues also, that is genuine issues. What is this strategical issues? Can I say the northeastern part of India is very fragile? They are having boundary with some very important neighbors like China. So definitely we have to take care whatever change we do in that area. It should not create any type of problems. So there may be the coordination between armies, military forces, all these things that can be affected. So we cannot tolerate that, right? So yes, there are a number of other strategic issues also. So based on all these particular things, the government is not yet considering to continue with a two time zone. They are just mentioning to shift into a two time zone. We are still continuing with the single time zone. So in future, it may be possible that we may be shifting into two time zone. Why? Because the national timekeeper is now recommending it. Now after this national timekeeper has recommended that, after that also government has formed a high level committee, and that committee also recently rejected the concept of two different time zone. So let us understand this topic. That is why I have took this topic especially today, because this is recently too much in news. So you can expect questions from this area. What are the problems of establishing, or I can say implementing two different time zones in the country? Why are the government not implementing these two different time zones? So this can be possible questions you can get in the mains, because they are regularly in use. So let us see, I am giving you certain important points which can be very much helpful for you to write any answer regarding this particular thing. So let us see them one by one. So let's go through the slides here. So two time zones in India we have already discussed. So who proposed this now? Recently, the Council of Scientific and Industrial Research's National Physical Laboratory, that is your CSIR's National Physical Laboratory. It has recommended for having two time zones in India, and they are the national timekeeper. That's why it is in news. Now they have explained it further. They simply didn't say that we require two different time zones we can do. No, they have worked out a plan. What is plan? They said, can you see here, it also identifies where the two time zone be demarcated from each other. It is at the chicken's neck. I hope you know what is chicken's neck. This map, if you can see, this area of northeast, where the thickness of the area, that is Indian boundary, is very less. This side you have Bangladesh, this side you have Bhutan. So the thickness of this Indian landmass here is very less. I can say roughly around 50 kilometers. So when the thickness is very less, if I create a time zone here, if I create a time line here, on the east of this line, I will implement 1 hour ahead time zone. On the west, I will say normal time zone. Can I say less number of states will be affected, because I am getting a very narrow zone here. So they have clearly shown that we will maintain with two time zone. What are they? One, the same as we following, which is passing through the Mirzapur. We will follow the same thing. But for northeastern part, we will create another time zone at the Chicken's Neck area, which will be 1 hour ahead of the national time zone. So this said, NCIR said, the eastern part of this line, they will follow this new time zone, which is 1 hour ahead of the normal time zone. So let us see them in details. Now railway issues are there. We are moving into this. The article also puts a figure to the country's potential savings in the energy consumption. They says that in a year there can be 20 million kilowatts hour of energy savings. Why? I've just mentioned, they will be working at nights in the offices. They will be using electricity and all these things. So when you can save all these things if you implement and work according to 2 different time zones. And what are the 2 different time zones they have recommended? They have published a research paper, and according to that research paper, they says that 2 time zone, one is IST 1, that is Indian Standard Time Zone 1, which is UTC plus 5 hour and 30, that is 5 hour 30 minutes ahead. Second time zone 6 hour and 30 minutes ahead. Now what is this 5 hour 30 and 6 hour 30? It is that much time ahead of the, I can say, Greenwich Mean Time, or to be more accurate, it is UTC. UTC is a new term. I can say it is a replacement for Greenwich Mean Time. It is Coordinated Universal Time. That is UTC. It is more used nowadays. Okay, and this proposed line will pass through a narrow border between Assam and West Bengal. That is, in this figure you can see this area, and this area is a small boundary between this side is Assam, this side is West Bengal. So it will pass through the border, so it will not create too much difficulties. That is what this NCIR has recommended. Sorry, CSIR, it is CSIR has recommended. Now let us continue from here. Let us understand what the government stand is. So after this report, what the government did is, government created or formed a high level committee, and this high level committee examined the situation. What is this high level committee? High level committee is made up of the Secretary, Department of Science and Technology, that is, you know that DST, right? Next, Director of the same CSIR, then Chief Secretary of the Government of Tripura. These 3 were the heads of this particular committee, high level committee, and they studied this. Finally, what is the recommendation of this high level committee? They considered the issue and they recommended not to have 2 different time zones in India for strategic reasons. That means, what is the government stand at present? The government says that we are not ready to implement 2 different time zones in the country. I hope the issue is very much clear. This is the reason why this particular topic was regularly in news. Now, if it is clear, let us continue a bit more. That is, whenever we expect to write answers, they may ask us the possible benefits of these particular having 2 different time zones, and they can be asking us maybe what are the drawbacks of this particular having 2 different time zones. So if you understood the concept, let us go through its benefits and drawbacks also. So please remember, what is the issue here? The issue here is, are we going with 2 different time zones or not? Till now, the situation is, the scientific community has recommended yes, you can go for 2 time zone. But the government says now, no, we are not ready for this 2 different time zone. Why the government has mentioned that? Because of certain strategic issues. Now, if we have to analyze the thing from our side, that we have to take a side, that should we go for a 2 time zone or should we go for a single time zone? To understand that, we definitely have to go through its benefits and drawback. So that is why I am taking you towards its benefits and drawback. Benefits, definitely we can say, the efficiency of the working people in the northeastern part of India, that will improve, because they are working with their actual natural time scale now. Right, the nature says that when sun rises, you can get up, you can work entire daytime, night is for sleeping. So you can follow that natural calendar. So when you follow the natural calendar, it is general belief, not only belief, there are researchers which suggest that when you work according to your natural calendar, your efficiency increases. So definitely that is one of the biggest advantage, your human capability increases. Second thing, the electricity losses, all those things can be decreased. Definitely yes, because you are working in daylight, no need to switch on lights in the evening in the office, because you are going out of office maybe at 4 p.m. or maybe 5 p.m. at the max. So no need to have lights, electricity saving, right? So people are happy in that area. They are regularly asking this for decades now. Apart from that, there are problems. We have discussed few problems. But can I say one thing? It has a tendency to divide India further. India is a country with huge diversities. Different states, they have different languages. So we have differences based on language, caste, region. So we have number of differences. Already the entire country of India, we can see, we always say that there is unity in diversity, but still there is differences, right? We say we are Malayalis, right? Tamil Nadus, they will say, when the North Indian people, they call us Madrasis, we say no, we are not Madrasis, we are Malayalis. Right? Why? There is a difference, there is a clear-cut difference. Similarly, Northeastern people, when they go to Delhi, those peoples are discriminated. Now, we already have these differences in India, and can I say, implementing two different time zones, we are just giving it one more ball to break India into two other classes also, based on different time zones. So that can be risky, right? That is not always advisable. So these are certain problems associated with if we go for different time zones. So please remember, whenever we write an answer, as government has not accepted this, so definitely there are certain reasons why the government has not accepted it. And it is not a recent issue. Government is continuously rejecting it for decades. So if government is doing it, definitely there are certain issues that you cannot go directly with that. Maybe with respect to efficiency, maybe with respect to other aspect or logical aspect, can I say it is perfectly needed, we require two time zones. But yes, to manage things with respect to the government side, things can become difficult. That is why government is ignoring. So if you get a question, my advice is, don't try to criticize government directly unnecessarily here. You don't know what are the strategic issues the government that is facing from the government side. Maybe from the military movements, from the military strategic positions. There will be number of things. That is why government is not taking that stand for such a long duration. There were number of change in governments. Then also government is not acting. So it is not at all political issue also. So there are number of aspects. So I will suggest not to criticize government directly. But you can have a balanced approach, that it has a positive aspect, it has a negative aspect. So yes, we can consider it in future. At present it may not be possible. But if you want to give a way forward, yes, we can do this. What is that? Can I say definitely there are way forward solutions. And there are number of suggestions also. Some of the suggestions says that, why not we will maintain one time zone and let us advance that time zone. Maybe now we are following a time zone which is 5 hours and 30 minutes ahead of the Greenwich Mean Time, or I can say UTC. Right? Why not let us maintain the same one time zone with 6 hours ahead of that? The northeastern people will get that additional half an hour. The people on the western side, let them get up half an hour early. Right? Similarly, the people of northern and northeastern part, they will be slightly happy. Yes, we are getting half an hour more. Right? Why not we can go for that conditions. Single time zone, having just shifting from 5 hours 30 minutes to 6 hours. That is a possibility. You can give this as a way forward. Right? So definitely that is possible. Apart from that, you can just implement one more thing. You can give one more suggestion. That is, you can suggest like, we can implement something known as daylight saving time zone. Daylight saving time zone. What is daylight saving time zone? I hope you might have heard about the European countries. During summer season, they advance their clock by 1 hour to utilize more daytime, because sun rises early, they can get up early, they can go to work early. So they advance their clock by 1 hour. So can I say we can recommend same thing here in India? Because these situations are becoming more and more difficult during winter. Right, these extremities are faced during winter, because in northeastern part during winter the sunset may be starting at 4:30 or 4 p.m. So what is that? Because they are having sunset very early. So we can adjust our daylight saving time and all these particular things accordingly, and that can also affect this particular situations. So these can be also the possible solutions. So just keep these things in mind. It can be possible solutions that you can give in the examination. Don't directly criticize the government that government is not doing this logical issues and all. No, that is not the way to write an answer. Clear? So yes, let us just conclude these topics. So come to this slide now. Let us explain. So we have explained the stand of government. Continuing, what are the possible benefits of having these two different time zones? Benefits, let us just see. It can lead to greater efficiencies. It can lead to greater efficiencies among the workforce. It can result into energy saving. Definitely yes. Power saving. Next, can I say when energy saving is taking place, indirectly India's carbon footprint will be boosting. That is, we will be releasing less amount of carbon in the atmosphere. So that can help in fighting climate change issues, because we are producing less electricity then. Definitely yes. Then people will be able to work, plan better, and hence live better according to their natural cycles. They are more efficient there. Similarly, can I add this also? Many social policy objectives can be achieved, like improving women's safety. Because women are going to work in the daytime, not night now here. So they are more safe now here. So that can be another issue. So these are the possible benefits. What are the difficulties? I have just mentioned mismatch of the office timings, that is basically banking hours. Next, railway accidents. Basically, we are still following primitive methods here. It is not entirely automated. So basically, it can create certain issues. Now next is, can I say in India, especially those areas, the northeastern part, there is huge amount of illiteracy, so they can get confused and situation can become chaotic whenever they need to change their times at different areas. That can be issues. Next, now presently the CSIR NPL, it has its office in Delhi. So can I say now they have to establish another office in northeastern part to deal with these particular things? That can be another thing. Next, as I said, India is already divided based on religion, caste, race, language, all these things. Now this can create another divisions. So these are the topics which are associated with the concept of time. So please understand, these were the issues which were regularly in news. So I hope the topics that we have covered till now, two basic concepts, that is the concepts of season and the concept of time. I hope these two topics are perfectly clear. So please understand, for the mains examination, now I have not taught you what is, means generally we teach in geography, that is with respect to, I can say, the factual information. That is not required now. You have to analyze things now. That is why when I dealt with the climatic conditions, apart from tilt, revolution, I tried to include other areas also, which is practically more and more beneficial. Similarly, when I talked about time, I have not mentioned what is international date line, what happens if you cross international date line from east to west. No, that is not more required now for the mains examination. What is required for the mains is the analysis part, what is presently in news. So that's why I have changed the topic entirely, and we have discussed what are the things, what is with respect to the dynamism of the topic. So this is the things we have concluded. So yes, the two topics we have concluded includes the concept of season and the concept of time. So I hope things were comfortable. You clearly understood this particular topic. So that is all from this particular topic. This is done. Fine. Thank you.